All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Cracking the Code with Robert G. Allen. We have had some absolutely fantastic conversations the last couple of weeks about real estate, the art of negotiation. Today, I want to jump into the secrets to having a creative investor mindset. Because this really does take a mindset to play this game, right? To be able to come up with new deals, to be able to come up with new investment strategies. Like there's a whole mindset behind it. So I'm just got right out the gate. How important is mindset to success in real estate?
Well, how important is mindset to anything, to any success?
Touche.
Absolutely. So there are three fundamental skills I think you need to succeed, not only in real estate, but in life and in relationships and everything else. Number one is what I call system skills.
Okay.
That means how do you drive the vehicle that that you've chosen to drive? If it's real estate, how do I drive my real estate vehicle? What's the systems? And number two is how about people skills, persuasion, negotiation, interaction, trust, that kind of thing. And then finally, mindset skills.
Okay.
How do you think about it? So when I ask an audience around the world, which do you think is the most important skill, by far and away, they're going to say mindset skills. It's going to be 2/3, 3/4, sometimes 90% of the process. And most people just think the exact opposite. They think, if I find a good book that's got some system skills in it, if you show me what's the new technique, Robert? You got a new technique out there? That's system stuff. And my book, let's say Multiple Streams of Income, is filled with system skills. But if a person doesn't know how to persuade themselves to go do it, if they can't overcome their fears, if they can't get organized, then they won't do it, and therefore they fail. So it doesn't matter if you have system skills. You need mindset skills. So when it comes to real estate, it's the biggest percentage of the game.
Okay.
You have to have the right mindset because there's going to be a lot of rejection, a lot of fundamental people telling you you're crazy. Your friends are going to tell you you're crazy.
Family probably, right?
Totally, exactly. And that requires mindset. So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the creative mindset. Now, the picture back up here shows me this nice suit and, a little more traditional,
Yeah.
suit and tie-ish.
But then you show up and wow us with this amazing shirt.
This is the creative shirt.
Yeah.
Now, you may not wear a shirt like this when you're negotiating, but you're going to think like this. You're going to think different. How can I think out of the box?
Yeah.
So today we're going to learn how you think out of the box.
Okay, so we have a couple skill sets that we need to go over. You mentioned all three of them in passing, but what are the three system skills you need to build to have the right mindset? System skills.
Every real estate book, mine included, are going to teach you three fundamental skills. How do I find the deals?
Okay.
Where are they?
Finding the deals.
How do I fund those deals when I find them? And then finally, how do I farm them? Meaning, it's a crop. Real estate's a crop.
Find, fund, and farm.
Find, fund, farm.
All
That's
right,
it.
the
That's
three
it.
Fs.
So you never have to buy another real estate book because they all contain the same thing.
Find, fund, farm.
Those are systems.
Okay.
So there are systems for finding, there's systems for funding, there's systems for farming. How do I keep it? Do I flip it? Do I sell it? Do I get a cash flow from it? Do I get chunks of cash? So, like I said, that's 10% of the game. The 25% of the game is people skills.
Okay.
How do I build trust? How do I solve problems? How do I think win-win? Those are the skills.
Okay.
Problem solving, win-win,
And
trust.
Awesome.
And
so we covered two of the three system skills you need, right? We covered the system skills.
And people skills.
And the people skills. Now this one I'm super intrigued by, the mindset skills. Talk to me about the three
if I want
mindset
to
skills that you
have
need
the
to
right
build.
mindset for a real estate investor,
Yes.
That's a creative real estate investor, the first fundamental skill is to believe you can do it. I can do this.
How hard is that to build?
Well, if you've never done it before, can you imagine that?
Yeah,
You've
it's
never
gotta be
bought a piece of real
terrifying.
estate. You will be terrified, frankly. The first time out, that you're going to have to go into debt. You have to negotiate. You got the rejection. It builds over time.
Okay.
So when they sent me to San Francisco to do my challenge, send me to any city, take away my wallet, give me a $100 bill, 72 hours, I'll buy an extra piece of real estate using none of my own money. My mindset when I landed on that plane was, I have 3 days. I can do this.
Which is crazy because you related the story earlier on a previous podcast that like you dialed all day until 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. That had to be draining on your mindset.
Failure after failure after failure after failure. As Churchill said, is keep on failing and to be enthusiastic about it while you're doing it. So I had to just keep going. By the way, I'll tell you one final secret, or another secret.
Yeah, drop them all on us.
The reason I had to maintain my mindset, that I had to be positive, I had no choice, because I had a deadline. And I had a deadline with a consequence. And it was $1 million consequence. Because my career would have been ruined. So I always, what I do, if I want to succeed at anything in my life, I'm going to put a deadline attached to it. A deadline with a reward and a consequence. And I'm going to, we may talk about this in a minute or two.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is the deadline was what forced me to have the right kind of mindset, because I had no choice. Okay?
Interesting. I have never thought about putting a deadline with a consequence and a reward.
And a reward. Yeah,
That's very
both of
interesting.
those.
What is I'm just curious. I'm sure we will talk about it, but what is a consequence in a situation? Like you just said, for example, your career was on the line. That's a huge consequence.
Yeah.
But in like an everyday type of challenge, right? Everyday mindset challenge. What is it? What could like a negative and a positive consequence?
It's a consequence you create for
Okay.
you. Suppose you say, I'm going to write 3 offers on real estate this month. If I don't, I'm going to write a $1,000 check to the Atheist Society.
Okay.
If you're a believer in God, you're going to pick a consequence that hurts. And therefore, when you wake up in the morning, you go, I certainly don't want to write that $1,000 check.
Yeah.
What am I going to have to do? I got to write 3 offers. Let's just get it done. But if you don't, if you set goals like people set resolutions at New Year's,
Yes.
there's no consequence.
Familiar with
There's no
those.
deadline. It's just like, I think I'd like to lose 30 pounds.
It's
That would be
ambiguous.
really nice.
Yeah.
And there's no structure of consequences.
Yes.
And so that's what I set myself up to do. When it comes to the mindset of having a creative real estate investor, is that I can find the resources. I am resourceful. Tony Robbins talks about that. In order to find the resources, you have to be resourceful, meaning I've got to source them. I'll find them wherever they are at. And the other attitude is basically, if I don't have it, somebody does.
Ooh, I love that.
And I had one of my students, I just stumbled into him just 2 weeks ago, and he has a tens of millions of dollar net worth. He owns $150 million worth of real estate. And he says, back when I was broke, divorced, discouraged in 2013, we just come through 2008, 2009, 2010, I was nothing, nowhere, broke out. And I stumbled across my book, Nothing Down. And the lights came on when he read that quote. If you don't have it, somebody does.
Yeah.
That means if you're the resource, you're resourceful, you'll be finding people who want to solve their problems by solving your problem. And what is their problem? They need to get their money to work at not a 0.5% interest stuck in a bank.
Yeah.
They want to make 20% interest. They want to make 200% interest.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you can do in a real estate deal. And so I find those resources that make that happen. So that's the way a creative real estate investor thinks. They just,
I absolutely love the idea of if you don't have it, somebody else does, right? I think so many times we get stuck in our own shell and we're afraid to ask, right?
Yeah.
And really negotiate, if it's fair to say, right? Like back to a previous podcast, I'm thinking about negotiation and if I don't have it, how can I negotiate with somebody that does? What can I do there, right? Like I love that. I absolutely
find
love
what they want.
Yeah.
And so an investor who has the money but no deal, hasn't found the deal, I can show to them, hey, this is how you solve your problem. I'm a problem solver. Now remember, one of the lies I talked about in a previous podcast was it takes money to make money.
that. Right.
That's a lie. It doesn't take money.
Explain.
It takes resources, and they don't have to be your resources. So that's your mindset. I want to have the creative non-use of cash. It's not of my cash. How did you know that America was a nothing down deal? All of them, the entire country.
Okay.
What did Columbus do? He went and found the resources from King Ferdinand and Isabella, and he said, I want to go to find India. And they stubbed their toe in America on the way, right? And in other words, it was a nothing down deal. It wasn't his money. It wasn't his boat. It wasn't his crew. All of it was provided for him. He just provided the idea. That's what you need to be Columbus.
He was a creative investor.
Exactly. Totally. Totally.
I love it. So like what we talked a little bit about this mindset game, right? And mindset, I think, leads to some other really good things, as far as investments go. What is a creative investor really looking for in the form of mindset? And like, what are some things we need to watch out for as a creative investor?
Well, I mentioned in a previous example about finding the highly motivated seller.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier if a seller is flexible. If a seller has been forced to be flexible, then you need to bring to that person the win-win attitude. I want you to win. I don't want you to lose. You can trust me. If I don't buy your property, I still want to contribute to your life. I still want to help you. Just that attitude, just the way you think creatively. And then the second, really attitude is problem solving. You love to solve a problem. Let me give you an example of that. Here we're sitting in a beautiful studio.
Yes.
There's a microphone there. There's a beautiful globe. I got the shirt on. I got the ka-ching button right here. Every single thing in this studio made somebody a fortune.
Yes.
No, everything. That table, that Perrier bottle, my cell phone, this camera, that microphone, every single thing you see. Some entrepreneur created a solution to a problem and now sold that solution to millions of people and became a fortune, became wealthy.
Yes.
When you're thinking about as a real estate investor, you're saying to yourself, how can I solve the problem here? This person has a problem. How can I fix it? If I don't have the resources, I need to be resourceful. Maybe I am the solution to helping that person find the resources that they need. And so it's just your attitude. There is a way I can find the solution. But most people give up too early.
Ooh.
They give up. They say, this is impossible. It's impossible to find this deal. It's just, I can't do it. And therefore, they give up much, much too early. They throw away the solution without saying, what if I looked at it from a different angle?
Yeah.
What if I, So
like a forest through the trees almost, right? I mean, it's hard to see that solution sometimes.
Exactly.
When you're looking for those solutions, and getting in the right mindset, what's the most important question to ask when you're looking for those solutions?
What's the problem you're trying to solve? What do you really want? What do you really want from this? Now, this is what sellers are not usually willing to answer. Therefore, they have to trust you.
Do you think that oftentimes we as a society, when we're trying to get into a mindset space, that we're too busy trying to solve like surface level problems and we don't get to the root of the problem?
Correct.
We're not asking the right questions.
Correct. Sometimes people are embarrassed to say what the problem is. They
Why?
might say, I'm 3 payments behind in my mortgage. Do you
Okay.
want to really tell somebody that? No, not really. So you're going to tell a lie. That's the highly motivated seller. And the only way that they'll ever really tell you the truth is if they trust you, if you're a friend, if you're a trusted advisor trying to help them solve their problem with no expectation of return on your part.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll say, I'm moving to another city. Oh, why? Why are you moving to another city? Well, I got another job offer. What are you going to do with this property here? Are you going to leave it vacant and maybe have some vandal problems? What are you going to do? I don't know. I hope I can sell it. I said, well, if I don't buy it, I'll drive by it every once in a while and just see if everything is okay. Kind of help you out if I possibly can.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're contributing to the solution to their problem.
Oh, sorry. Let me cut you off a little bit. What's the mindset? How do we not tell ourselves lies when we're in the right mindset space, right? Like, because I think it's human nature to be like to try to blame it on something. But
Yeah.
how do we not kid ourselves? How do we not tell ourselves a lie?
Well, that's only taken me 70 years to try to figure out.
If you can enlighten us, we would love to know.
For me, I was afraid of what people would think of me for the longest time. It cost me tens of millions of dollars. We all have fears that hold us back. it spells F-E-A-R-S. And all of us have fears. Fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of success. Mine was fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment. You know, I wouldn't want people to see me as this salesy guy, this real estate guru guy that was trying to sell them a big bunch of stuff, right? And therefore I wouldn't sell it. And I'd have to have my team help me do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know which of those fears really affect you, but I want to ask you, how much does it cost you? Because fear is expensive. And I've learned in my career, in my lifetime, I've had to deal with some of those fears over my lifetime. And I look back on how I got rid of them and how I overcome those fears. I look back at that guy, I'm thinking, how could he have thought that?
Yeah.
We lie to ourselves because we get stuck in a box of fear. And I hope that our viewers and our listeners on the podcast, I want you to realize that it's expensive. It's too expensive. You're stuck inside a comfort zone, and the comfort zone is the most dangerous place you can stay.
How do we punch ourselves out of that comfort zone? How do we punch our way out of the box?
Well, everything you've ever wanted is about 1 inch outside your comfort zone. So you have to be uncomfortable and go get it.
Ooh, that's got to be that. I know that's hard. Being uncomfortable with something is hard. How do we take that step to say, you know, I'm going to overcome the fear of rejection. Or I'm
I'll
going
give
to
you the
overcome
answer.
the fear of whatever. Give it to us.
This is the answer. You want to get out of your comfort zone and into the opportunity zone.
Ooh, I love opportunity.
That's where all the good stuff is. Most people think it's the danger zone. It's not the danger zone. It's the opportunity zone. And to get into the opportunity zone, you have to make your dreams more real than your fears. What does that mean? It means you have to imagine you're living the lifestyle of your dreams, living where you want to live, with whom you want to live, as long as you want to live, as much as you want to earn, living and feeling and enjoying the life you always wanted, because fear is real too. And you feel it. Your heart starts to pound, your palms start to sweat, your brain goes blank. Fear is a feeling.
Yeah.
And you must make the feeling of what you want better, stronger, more real than the fear of what you don't want.
Oh, there was one thing that popped up in there that made me a little nervous. Talk to me about the fear of success.
Oh.
What an interesting concept. How many people are being held back by fear of success, and how can we abolish that from our lives?
Well, look at your friends. And as you've heard a million times, your success, your income is the average of your 5 biggest friends, best friends. So you take whatever they earn and divide it by 5, add it up and divide it by 5, and that's how much you earn. And that's pretty much the truth. You want to earn 10 times that, you have to hang with people who earn 10 times what your friends do. You have to say no to some of your friends. Are your friends bringing you down? Then help your friends. Contribute to your friends. Just don't hang with them.
Interesting.
Help them. You need to add. That's why this podcast. I want you to hang with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang out. We're going to drop some knowledge.
We're going to hang.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm going to
amazing.
teach you the way rich people really think.
Which I think everybody wants to be in that mindset, right? I think people are scared to get in that mindset because they think to themselves, not me. I can't do it, right? They have the can'ts, they have the fear that is going to stop them. And I will tell you what, my life, in the time I've been able to hang out with Chris Crone, who's a great mentor for me, my life has exponentially grown in not only self-worth, but value. My wife and I now have rental properties, which I didn't even have on my radar a year ago. And so I think that just goes to the power of saying, you know what? If you elevate who you're hanging out with, if you elevate that game, you're going to start to abolish that fear of success. And then ultimately, it goes into other points that you've made, Robert, on past podcasts, where you then begin to give back.
Yeah.
And it just becomes this exponential like train that's moving forward at lightning speed. And it's just such a fun ride to be on.
Fear of failure, let's just finish on that one again. Fear of success, I mean. Fear of success means you're going to see yourself more successful than the people around you, and you're going to think they won't like you.
Yeah.
Well, they probably won't. So get over it.
Yeah.
You're going to hang with successful people, and you'll have to leave behind some people who don't believe the way you believe. They don't think the way you think. Next, onto another network. Your network is your net worth. Look at your network. Is your network got 100 losers in it? That's your net worth. Your network is your net worth, so you have to add 100 winners to your network.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, we're wrapping up. We're just about done with today's episode, but we're talking about creative mindset for investors. And this is one of the last things I want to talk to you, or last question I have for you is, how do you know if the property is right for you? If you've got the right property?
I'm going to combine that answer with a previous question, which is the mindset you need to have. I was at a seminar, clear as bell, I remember this. The teacher was teaching us a technique that I'd never heard of before. I'd listed as a real estate investment advisor a property, a 12-unit apartment building here in Provo, Utah. And it was a good price, and I thought it should sell, and it didn't sell. And so the listing expired. And I was the listing agent, so maybe I was part of the problem. But I thought it was a good deal, and I wanted it. But I didn't have money. I didn't have enough money to buy that property. Not even close. You know, it was a $300,000 12-unit apartment building. The down payment would have been 25%. That's $80,000. I didn't have 80 grand in my bank account.
Yeah.
But the teacher taught us a technique. And I'm sitting there in that room, and he showed us how by refinancing it, the refinance would produce a big chunk of money to the seller. And if the seller would carry a second mortgage back, I could get in with nothing down. And I literally I couldn't believe that technique. And I literally walked out in the hall, and I called the seller on the phone. I said, I'm going to buy your property. And he said, really? Hold it, don't sell it. I want it. I'm going to be there as soon as the seminar over. I'm going to fly up to Sunnyvale, California,
Okay.
I was in LA at the time. And the mindset was, if I don't have it, I can get the resources from somebody else. And the brainstorming went something like this. What if I did have it? Now, I had never gone that far before because I was looking at my bank account, and I could see in my bank account there wasn't enough money there. And if I don't, and it takes money to make money, right?
Right.
And I didn't have the money, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't even look. So what I'm trying to tell you about as a real estate investor, most people won't look because they look at their bank account and their credit rating. And so they don't go look. I need you to reverse that. I need you to go look first, even if you don't have the resources, and then you become resourceful. Say yes, and then figure it out. That's the secret. Say yes, and then figure it out. So I said yes to the seller, and then I go, how am I going to figure this out? I show up and I said, I'd like to buy your property. I'm gonna refinance it. I want you to carry, a second mortgage as a second mortgage to the brand new loan I'm going to put in. And he said, I need you to carry $75,000. And he said, I will only carry $60,000. I didn't have $15,000 to make up the difference, but I'm now in the negotiation. I go, say yes and figure it out. I said, okay, sounds great. Now he says, how are you going to get the loan? Could I qualify for a $225,000 loan? No, I couldn't. I didn't have the credit. I didn't have the collateral. I didn't have the income and none of that. But I said, what if I could? If I could find somebody who could qualify for that, then we refinance it. The seller would carry a second. Where am I going to get the $15,000? Are there rents and deposits? There were 72 girls living in that apartment going to BYU.
Wow.
Each one of them had a deposit and last month's rent. There was $15,000 in cash sitting in the escrow waiting for me when I closed, and I gave that money to the seller. And now I didn't have any deposits left. If somebody left, I had to come out of my pocket to return the deposit. But that was a creative solution. In other words, say yes and figure it out. Most people say no and don't figure it out.
Yeah.
And so this example was my first 12-unit apartment building. I bought it using someone else's credit, put none of my own money into it. That building eventually had a net worth of $500,000 for me personally. And if I hadn't used my creative thinking, never would have gotten it. So I'm trying to teach our beginning investors here. Some of them have never bought a property before.
Yeah.
You have to start off with this mindset. If I don't have it, somebody does. How would I pull it together? And what if I did have it? How would I brainstorm it? How would it work? Would it be profitable? And then the final question you just asked, the reason I was able to pull that deal off, that 12-unit apartment building, is because I felt that it was going to work. I just knew it was going to work. How do you know things? Intuition is where you just sense in advance, a hunch, you just kind of know it. And I know that's very difficult to teach. And most people, even really successful people, presidents of corporations who make decisions that are life-changing, a lot of times it's a gut decision. It's just intuition. And they can't sell it to their board of directors. So they go hire some MBAs to do all kinds of research, to come up with the numbers to prove it. But it all started off with the gut. They just knew it. They knew it in advance.
How often would you say, because I actually tend to agree that like your gut feeling is always a really good place to start, right?
Yes.
How often would you say that gut feeling has been right? And has it ever been wrong for you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. When I just made the decision to write my first book, Nothing Down, I quit everything. I walked away from all kinds of streams of income and just went and wrote.
Wow.
With no idea where the money was going to come from.
What did your wife say?
Because my intuition said, it's time to write your book now.
The world needs it now.
Now. If I had waited 6 months, the recession would have been over, the book wouldn't have been needed, and perfect. The wave was just perfect. And so, yes, the answer is yes. When I bought that first 12, I knew it. I just knew it was the right thing. Sometimes your desires overwhelm your intuition. And that happened to me. I bought a property, shouldn't have bought. It was greed, not intuition. I was thinking big, thinking I was invincible. Yeah. And I didn't check my intuition. I didn't say, does this feel right? You know why I didn't check it? Because I knew it wasn't right. I knew, I felt it. It wasn't right. But I forced it. I pushed it through. I just had to have it. Yeah. And what I'm trying to share with you is about a creative mindset for investing. Sometimes the deal looks perfect and your intuition says, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it. Sometimes it looks the last thing you think is you're going to be able to pull this off. It doesn't look right at all. But your intuition says, say yes and figure it out. Or say yes and I'll help you figure it out. And the universe steps in. There's a famous quote, and we'll end on this. It's called commitment. Until one is committed, I memorized it, I love this. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I've learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can dream you can, do it, because boldness has genius, magic, and power in it. When you commit, when you decide intuitively that's the right thing to do, you have to say yes. And then let providence sometimes figure it out for you. It's leaping. It's jumping off the cliff and figuring out the parachute on the way down. But sometimes you jump and you crash and burn. And you have to kind of learn from those experiences. Yeah. What was my feeling just before I jumped? Was it greed or was it intuition? And it takes a while to learn the signals, but when you learn intuition and you follow it, it takes you in good places. It brought me here to Chris. I mean, there's a whole story about why Chris Crone and I are our business partners today. It was intuition all the way. And so that's the mindset. I hope you can glean something of what we shared right here. And by the way, I recommend that everybody go memorize that statement I just said to you.
Where do they find that?
Just go Google commitment. It was somebody who was climbing Mount Everest. And they wrote a book about it in 1951. the Himalayan, the something Himalayan expedition, something like that. It's all over the internet. It's all over.
Awesome.
But very few people memorize it. The reason I memorize it because when I'm committed and I go all in, because I know if I'm all in and intuitively I know it's the right thing, providence shows up. Things, just magic stuff starts to happen. It's unbelievable. And then when you couple that with giving, impossible to fail. It's just amazing.
Perfect. Say yes. Figure it out. I love the mindset training today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Cracking the Code with Robert G. Allen. We'll see you next time.